Hello everyone, and thank you for your visit to the Soul GPS channel, where we learn to take life back in our hands. And today I have a topic for you that's been on my mind for several days, and that is how to obliterate the narcissist. I came up with 3 strategies, and I like to call them the shield, the sword, and the invisibility cloak. Let's get to it. The shield. When you think of a shield, what comes to mind? Deflection. It is about taking the poison arrows that the narcissist is throwing our way and deflecting them back at them. There are several ways with which we can do this. One way is to basically not take the gift that they're giving us. It could be a comment, it could be them trying to lure us into a situation. It can take many different forms. But oftentimes, they are very good at engaging us in some ways. Remember, narcissists are master provocateurs. That, of course, goes also for psychopaths, sociopaths, people with all sorts of personality disorders. I was just listening to a channel the other day about how to recognize a psychopath. And it was kind of scary to look at the interviews with all of these mass murderers and people who, at the first glance may seem like they're just normal people. They know how to talk about what they have done and seem like they have remorse. But deep inside, when you really, really pay attention to their body language, you will see that they have no remorse. Their eyes are dead. And they talk about their victims and the killings without really any emotion. In fact, sometimes you can catch a little glimpse of a smile in the corner of their mouth, right? Like they're proud of what they have done. So what those people do, and of course, psychopaths, mass murderers, they are on the extreme end of the spectrum. We're talking about the person you've been in a relationship with. We're talking about perhaps a sibling, perhaps a parent, right? So it's a little bit different. They are obviously not there to openly, sadistically pick at you, although it could be the case as well. It does happen in families. It does happen where kids are so mistreated, so abused, that they grow up feeling like that's normal, and they have severe attachment disorders. But at this point, I'm going a little bit off the subject. So what I'm trying to say is that they are provocateurs. So they're bored. They're bored out of their mind. They study us. They look at how normal people communicate, and they get really good at emulating that style. I don't know if you have any experience in corporate America. I do. I spent 12 years in corporate America, and one of the things I have noticed when I would go to conferences or when I would go to meetings, especially the after parties, right, where people would walk around with whiskeys and champagne and make this small talk. And a lot of those people, they've done it so many times for so many years that they have mastered the game of the small talk. They have mastered the game of the perfect mannerisms. So they come across as these diplomats. They come across as these very cultured people. So that ability does not come so much from them being born this way. This is something that they practice. This is something that they've been training for 30, 20, several decades in order to become so smooth and so well-mannered, right, in order to make deals. There's always an agenda behind it. So it's very similar with psychopaths. It's very similar with narcissists. They observe people in order to get their way. They figure out what it is that we need, what it is that we want. They hone in on our deepest vulnerabilities so that then they can play us in any way that they can. And that playing us actually involves something called triangulation. And you may be familiar with that term. And what that is that in relationships, what they'd like to do is pull in and bring in people that are on the outside of the two of you in order to evoke different kinds of emotions. It could be jealousy, for instance, when they start to compare you with their ex. They can do it by sort of after the fact, like once you've been there for a while, they start bringing them up that, oh, suddenly somebody showed up in their life, they have met a new person, right, to create those emotions in you. Or they can set you up early on by telling you things like, oh, you know, my ex used to do this for me and I loved it. Or when they did that, I hated it. I remember my narc, what he did is early on, he told me even the trigger words that would set him off, such as the word crazy, right? They hate that. So he just absolutely flew off the handle when I once said that something that he was doing, a situation we were in, was crazy. Right? I didn't even call him crazy. I just said the situation was crazy, and he lost it. So, so triangulation, that can also happen in families. Mothers can triangulate between daughters, sons, you know, any gender, it crosses gender. I always wondered why my relationship with my sisters was so strained. And it was only later, way later, just recently actually, that I have put the two and two together and realized that my mother plays many different sides. She can say this to one of my sisters, and then she can say that. When somebody does something wrong, she will, morally wrong, for instance, she will say negative things about them to one person, but then she'll go back to them and she will not even say one negative word that they did something wrong, because she wants to stay in their good graces, right? So this way they ensure that they have all the bases covered, and whenever they need something, they can go back. So it's basically keeping the supply always available. So they will always say different things to different people. You will never hear one story from a narcissist. There are always multiple versions. So the shield, let's come back to you know what it is, but by understanding what the shield and what deflection is, what's really also what makes it easier to implement, sorry about the cars, is knowing what the narcissist is after, and their agenda is always to provoke you, to basically break you down so that they can take their shit and project it onto you and make you the crazy person. They take the deep, dark parts of their brain and they basically hand it to you, so that now you're the person who's reacting. So basically attention is not on them. They get that kind of attention that they want, which is you doing everything and anything for them, but they are never the guilty party. You're always the guilty party. So knowing that their main agenda is to provoke, when you know this, you can anticipate that they're going to try to say different things to pull you into an argument with you. So the key to not let them do that is to practice something that is called non-defensive communication. What non-defensive communication isn't is, for instance, they throw something on you. They throw some form of a slander or comment to provoke you, and what the defensive way to respond would be to say something like, but no, I didn't mean that, or no, I'm not, or why can't we just have a normal conversation for once, right? The narcissist is salivating at that. They love that because it only adds fuel to the fire, because now they can send more artillery your way. And remember, they don't have the kind of emotions that you do. They don't process things the same way. They don't have any depth. They all they are looking for is to see an emotional reaction from you, because that's fun for them. So they don't get as involved as you are. So then when you try to counter them with your own comment, it just slides right off of them. So you're not going to get the reaction you want, but they're going to get likely the reaction that they want, because they have already figured you out. They know what your weak spots are. So instead of saying things that are defensive, you can say things that are non-defensive. So for example, you can say things like, oh, I'm sorry you feel this way. Or you can say, I see, you're entitled to your own opinion. Or you can say, let's pick this up after you have calmed down. So inside, you may be feeling like you're just seething with pain. Your gut is twisting because you see what they're doing and it's getting to you. What you want to do is you want to walk away from the room, go into the bathroom, go anywhere you want so you can cool off and not give them the emotional food that they're looking for. Right? So this is the time to put your mindfulness on. This is the time for you to to really see it for what it is and step back. So that is the shield. You're not going to let them get you involved in a fight. You're going to block it before it reaches you. Number 2 is the sword. And the sword gets right into the heart of the narcissist's big agenda. It just destroys and obliterates their what they want to do to you, their plan. And it is as simple as one word, and that word is no. When you say no to a narcissist, their world falls apart. They're kind of on the trajectory. It's like a speed bullet train coming at you, and you halt it, and they get derailed. And you can see it sometimes, depending on how smooth they are, you can see them just kind of lose the grip with reality for a moment and get appalled. Or they can, if they're really good at what they do, they can just put a nice smile on their face and jab you a little bit later with some other comment. You can practice saying no in small ways. For instance, you might be out for dinner and you're just not sure whether this person is toxic, but you might want to test them by, say, they're recommending a specific kind of wine for you because they think that that's the one you're going to like, that's the one you should drink, and you're just going to say no and go with your own choice, right? So you can see what kind of reaction is happening there. If you're in a relationship, you can say no about, from trivial things like, no, I'm not going to cook this for dinner, I'm going to do something else, or why don't you cook dinner? Or, no, I'm not going to watch a game with you because I don't feel like it. So you don't even need to actually provide excuses. But if you see them getting antsy and getting riled up, then you're dealing with somebody who just has to have their way. They have to have their control over you. So that is the sword. Say no. And remember, no is a complete sentence. And finally, the invisibility cloak. What is that? Well, I think that you probably think that too after you've been through rounds of abuse, one of the best ways to interact with a toxic narcissistic person is to not interact with them at all. But unfortunately, sometimes we're in a situation, especially early on in a relationship, where we can't quite tell whether they are problematic or not. So usually it takes months. Sometimes a month might be enough if you're interacting often enough, because what you want to see is how the narcissist behaves the person behaves when they don't get their way. That's when you usually can see the truth. Because if things are going along according to their agenda, there tend to not be many hiccups. But the moment that they run into obstacles, that's the moment of vulnerability for the narcissist, where the mask can slip and you can see them for who they are. So if you don't have the time to afford and you want to find out sooner, there is a way to do this, and that is by honing your intuition. This is why I call this channel actually Soul GPS, is because I want to pay homage to the GPS of our soul, which can save our life and which can lead us to a beautiful life if we use it, if we learn to communicate with it, if we utilize it in our daily experiences. But what happens oftentimes after narcissistic abuse is we lose trust, we lose our connection to ourselves, we lose trust in what we think, what we believe. That is because we have put our trust into the narcissist and they have learned to abuse it. They betrayed our trust. So in order to get our trust back, we can start practicing intuition, and the more intuitive we get, the more trust we're going to get. So it's like a positive feedback loop that keeps on building on itself. And one simple way to start honing your intuition, something that is relatively non-threatening, is, for instance, picking what you're going to eat for dinner while you're standing at the grocery stand and you're not sure what you want. Check in with your body. Your body is going to signal to you what's good for it, what it would like. Or if you feel like watching a movie, you just don't know which one to pick. Also notice how your body responds. Usually when something is a yes, you're going to feel a relaxation. You're going to feel maybe a little bit of like how to say, it's like a chill, running down your spine, and at the same time you're a little bit uplifted. There's more air in you. There's some positive energy that begins to circulate in your body. There's an opening. Whereas if something isn't good for you, you'll feel closing, you'll feel contraction. So look for that and learn to decode your body's signals to tell you what it needs. So that is the invisibility cloak. You can obliterate the narcissist before they do anything to you by simply knowing when to walk away, by simply knowing when to not engage. And if you do have to engage, because there are situations, it could be work, it could be family event, when you kind of sort of have to be there, even though you really never do, you know, you can always make your choice. But there are situations when it's harder to do. Then you can disengage by just stepping back in your mind and observing the person rather than emotionally opening to them. You know, put a boundary, put a guard, and that can also help. So I hope you like this article. So I hope you like this video. If you did, please let me know. Leave your comments, give me a like, maybe subscribe. This is still a relatively new channel. It's less than 2 months old, so I'm hoping to build a community of you guys here so we can all communicate and help one another. And also, just so you know, I have a regular column on Medium. It's medium.com. I think it's /@soulgps. There, I have a link under every one of my videos in the description. So if you prefer to read what I have to share with you rather than watch it, because, for instance, you can't listen to something, you're in a situation where you can only, you know, have your eyes on the screen, I invite you, you're more than welcome to stop by there too and read some of my articles. I pretty much always try to pair video with an article. Sometimes it's not feasible, but as often as I can, I do that. So I have several articles right now on Medium, so please check it out. And if you need personal help, I now offer email support. Information is also down below. You can shoot me an email and let me know what you need help with. I can help you with the validation. I can give you some pointers as to the immediate next steps you can take in order to regain some sanity and peace of mind as you move forward on your healing journey. So again, thank you so much for stopping by. I'll see you in another video, and remember to always let your compass guide you. Thank you so much, and take good care. Bye.